Capital Factory is all about being part of a community. And a little tagline for them: we meet the best entrepreneurs in Texas and introduce them to their first investors, mentors, and customers. They serve tech startups. Oh, my mom's calling. Hey, Mom. I'm on the stage right now.
She loves you.
I love you too. Okay.
Doesn't she know you're doing this every Wednesday morning?
I guess not. She didn't get the memo. Okay, so for a tour of Capital Factory, please see Kinga. She's their membership coordinator. Kinga, are you around? Let's see.
Not there now.
Oh, maybe she'll be back in a little bit. And today we are going to try to close right at 10 a.m. And at that point, everybody is welcome to shift over that way, because there's an event that's going to start here right afterwards. So just be mindful of that. And a little bit about the DEC. The Dallas Entrepreneur Center is a nonprofit created to support entrepreneurship and growth of the Dallas economy. So both are great organizations to get plugged in with if you're new to the startup scene here in Dallas. Yeah, you can clap for them.
Yeah.
Okay, and now a little bit about 1 Million Cups. It's been around for about 5 years. We have chapters in over 180 cities around the U.S. So it's a great platform that's now got a national coverage, and it's happening simultaneously in all those cities right now. So it's actually kind of cool. We also do have an app, and we'll ask you at the end of the event to get the app and leave your feedback for both the presenters using the 1 Million Cups smartphone app. And today's presenters. So we have two companies today. We have Porch Plans, and we have Alyss Analytics. And so without further ado, we'll please everybody stand up, give a round of applause, and we'll welcome Katie to the stage.
Morning. Ooh, sorry, it's really loud. Okay. There's like a weird echo. You're good? Or you guys can
No,
hear me?
there's an echo. There is an echo.
There's a weird echo. I feel like I'm on a cell phone, you know, when you can hear yourself talk, it's really awkward.
Is that better? Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
All right, my name is Katie Hoke. I'm an owner of Porch Plans. And, sorry, I'm also an owner of Hokelay. Hokelay has two divisions. We have our custom design architecture department, which is Hokelay Architecture and Design. And then we have our pre-design department, which is Porch Plans. So today we're going to go over Porch Plans. A little bit about how we got started. In 2016, with my business partners, we found Hokelay after moving back to the Midwest from Seattle, where we had lived for about 12 years. I also taught at Kansas State University as a professor of practice for a couple of years when we moved back, which was a really fun experience. At Hokelay, our primary focus at our firm, and then actually throughout our careers as designers, has been very high-end custom residences, and also commercial spaces. And when I went back to teaching, I really sort of went back to the core of the fundamentals of design, knowing that design should be for everybody. So I started to ask the question, instead of working for the very high end, the 1% of the 1%, how could we take custom residential design and make it more affordable, accessible, and sustainable for everybody? So a little bit about our profession. Generally, to design a new home is a lot of work, so it's 10 to 15% of cost of construction of a home. And homes are actually very polluting. They pollute as much as our vehicles. So how could we take every new home that's built and make it have a lower impact on the environment? And then making great design available for everybody. There's a lot of inexpensive home plans online. However, we feel that they're hard to modify and they don't really reflect how we live today. So late last year, we launched Porch Light Plans, and it's modern design that feels like home. So our homes are sustainable, they're affordable, and they're really easy to modify. Our sustainability model is very simple. We're really building homes that should be sustainable for the lifetime of the home. They're not reliant on technology. So we use extra thick walls with more insulation, simple passive systems like windows in the correct location, and then placing the home correctly on the site with a long east-west axis can make huge differences in the lifetime cost of the energy of a home. Our plans are very affordable. They start at $1,000. They're designed to be customized, and then clients are free to work with us to customize, or they can take them and customize them on their own. So on our website, we have a number of different styles of homes for people to choose from and then take and modify. And then as they dig in deeper, they can download free tear sheets about the house, add consultation time, and actually just purchase the plan directly online. And then after they pay, the plans just download to their computer. So it's a really easy online platform. So who's our target market? So our customers are really in their mid-30s to early 70s. They're very established in their careers. They have an average household income of $100,000 to $150,000. They value local organic goods that are handmade. They're very involved in their community. They're active, and they support the arts. Most of our customers are already homeowners with an average home value of $300,000. And it's a national platform. So we're looking at people who are in and around all major metropolitan areas across the United States. So who's our competition? This is not a new idea. Frank Lloyd Wright actually did this back in the early 1900s. Porch Plan is a great example of an architecture firm actually in Austin who's doing a similar model, except their plans are not really geared to be modified. And then Zero Energy Homes offers sustainable homes. However, we feel like the designs are not enduring or functional. And then lastly, there's these really large websites that just have a collection of house plans, like 40,000 house plans. And so this seems overwhelming and kind of not very personal for the home buyer. So how do we beat the competition? How do we compete? I don't know what's going on with the slide, but we're experienced architects who are passionate about collaborating with our clients and well-crafted homes based on how people live today. But we also know that there's no one-size-fits-all home. Everybody wants to be able to customize their homes. So we've designed that into our plans. And we believe that sustainability starts with really beautiful buildings. We're going to take care of buildings that we really care about. And then using common sense practices. We're not relying on heavy technology to make these homes sustainable. So it makes any of these homes really easy to meet the highest sustainability standards. So where are we running into problems? Paid marketing is very expensive. So spreading the word on the internet, on TV, through newspapers costs a lot of money. And so what we're trying to do is really spread the word and reach as many people as possible. Home buyers, builders, developers, anybody who's interested in making a difference in the average home and making sure that they understand that we're out there. So thank you so much. I'd love to hear your feedback, both about the company and ideas on how we can grow in terms of spreading the word and also eventually scale our business.
Yeah, Chris is going to handle Q&A. And
Alright.
I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but if you're new, Q&A is where it's at. So please do, raise your hand if you've got a question. It's a great opportunity to learn and engage. So go ahead.
All right, first question. As a community, what can we do for you?
That's a great question. So again, we're looking for contacts with local builders and developers. What we've noticed is working directly with builders and developers can have the most impact because they're in the field, right? They're building the home. So if you know somebody who's interested in affordable, sustainable home design, we'd love to chat with them. The second thing is media. You know, the media has been a great friend to us locally in the Lawrence and the Kansas City and Wichita area. And we have a really great story to tell. So if you have any contacts in the media, I'd love to have those as well. And we've got our business cards sprinkled throughout here, and you can just email me or call me.
Hi, Katie. Is your business just like brand new homes, or can you work with an older home, let's say built in 1988 or something like that, and upgrade it?
Sure. So our custom design division can definitely work with older homes. We do a lot of remodels for people, but Porch Light is geared more towards a new build.
Hey, Katie.
Hi.
Nice job.
Thank you.
I'm Michael. So, I'm sorry if I missed it. Are you here, or what's the story about being around here versus being Kansas Jayhawk people?
Yeah. No. So we're in Lawrence.
Sorry, I know you taught at K-State. I didn't mean to insult. Are you a Jayhawk?
No, I don't. I'm not into sports ball
I'm
at all,
sensitive to the
so
college town thing.
I'm not sensitive. No. So we live in Lawrence, but I did go to school in Manhattan at Kansas State. But we're located in Lawrence.
So, help me understand then your game plan for here, how you're planning to be present here and get this thing rolling and make an impact here. You're going to do it virtually and keep your base there. You're going to put people here. Just curious about how you'll get connected here, other than virtually.
Yeah. So right now we don't have a game plan to be in Dallas, but we know that Dallas and Austin specifically are growing like crazy. I know that these areas are really pressured to be building new homes right and left. And so right now it's just kind of a virtual connection. What we do, other than like networking, we don't really need to be present. We're used to working virtually, working with builders, because it's kind of a handoff to the builder. The builder is responsible for, everything that gets constructed and permitting. It's more just starting with the correct platform.
Okay, got it. So one final quick thing is then, based on your success to date, do you have, I guess, lots of references, both builders and clients, because you're not brand new, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be great that you emphasize that in your presentation about all these people that just love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because then people go, oh, this is real and working, and I'm not the first.
Sure.
So if you've got that, I would really stress and highlight that in there, because then people go, oh, cool, this works.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Great feedback. Thank you.
Morning. Ooh, that was loud. I had a couple of questions. My first question is, I know that California has made an official stance to make homes all net zero by a certain date. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing something in a national way where governments are coming in saying that the minimum requirements for homes have to be some energy efficient model at some point? I'm sure you probably know it better than I. That's my first question. My second question is, I have this weird hobby on shipping container homes, and I know that's highly, it's a big facet in the sustainable model. Have you had some experience with it, and where do you see that moving? Because I know that's become something, especially down in Austin and in the state of Texas. I'm seeing them out in rural parts all over the place. Is that something that you incorporate in your designs?
Yeah, so for the first question, on the West Coast, in the metropolitan areas like Seattle, LA, all of San Francisco area, they have very strict energy codes. We were used to working in Seattle that homes aren't necessarily net zero, but they're really close, really high standards for energy. And it's a double-edged sword, because by mandating that, yes, it's better, but it drives the cost of construction way up to the point where common people like myself and my husband and our business partners, it's like we can't afford to build a new home anymore because of these high standards. So we want to support it, and we want to make sure that it's still attainable for everybody, right? Because every home needs to be built this way. So that's a tricky question. But we are seeing on the West Coast, definitely they're mandating higher energy code, as they do in Europe and Canada. The second one for container shipping homes, I think that's an interesting idea. Personally, it's not something that we're interested in, because I don't feel like living in a container is something I want to personally be in necessarily. They're built for shipping, They're really good at shipping. They weren't really built to be homes. I know that there's a lot of things you can do to convert them, but I don't think that's necessarily on our radar right now. What's on our radar though that's really cool is like a panelized wall system that can be built in a factory. It can be automated. So you're doing all of the really heavy lifting to build the structure and the waterproofing part of the home, which is so important, in a controlled environment. And then you can put them on site, and within a couple of days, you can erect a 2,000 square foot home, have all the framing and the roofing in, and have a dried-in shell very quickly. So that's more the direction that we're leaning towards, is panelized walls rather than preset modules of any type. But I agree, the shipping containers are pretty cool, and I love, like Starbucks has a couple that they've turned into coffee shops that are really fun too.
Katie, right here.
Oh,
Sorry. So you were talking about marketing being expensive on a local and national scale. Do you guys have any sort of referral program in place for people who have already bought your plans? For me, I was thinking organic growth based off of your current customers. Because if I've already bought a $1,000 plan from Porch Life, and I love the design, I love the way my house turned out, I'm gonna go tell all my friends about that, right?
Sure.
And obviously the same network, right? That if I can afford the $1,000 plan, my network can probably afford my $1,000 plan as well. So do you guys have any, or have you thought about a referral-based program to give a discount or incentive to people to kind of organically go out and tell a Porch Life story?
That's such a great point to bring up. And I think early on, we've thrown out so many ideas and that sort of got lost in the mix, but I love that. I think you're spot on, right? Like these shoes I actually have are Rothy's. I don't know if you've seen them on Facebook, but they have a referral program. And I'm like, every woman, I'm like, look, you can take this wool out and wash it. Like, they don't have to stink. And every woman's like, oh my gosh, give me those shoes. So that's a great idea. Jared?
Since it's a virtual platform, how do customers that want to purchase a plan and then customize it work with you in order for that to happen?
So we found actually the plans we've sold have all turned into a customization. And it's a phone call. They have my cell phone is on the website, which I don't know, in 5 years might be a really bad idea, but they call me directly, we chat about it. These customers are really organized. They send us lists. They often actually take our plans and reorganize them on another program somehow. So we just have virtual meetings where we communicate back and forth about what they need, and then we pick up the customizations for them. And we give them a price up front. So we'll say, this is going to be $2,000, for example, for us to customize it. They pay the money, and then there's about a 1 to 2 week turnaround time for a new set of plans.
Any more questions?
Go back there. Okay, so to his point, and once somebody says, yeah, this is what we want to build, do you really not need any architect, local designer involved? You can just get involved with a builder and they can really take the detailed level of your plans and build a house. It's got it to that granular level?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Good question. So I don't know if any of you have ever built a home, but depending on your site, your neighborhood, your city, there's a lot of new requirements. So this is a starting point. This, for some areas, like in rural parts of the country, you could build a home off of this. In areas like Seattle, maybe Dallas or Austin, where they have really strict permitting requirements, you would need either to hire us or a local architect to help you through that. You also need a structural engineer. You might need a mechanical engineer, a geotechnical engineer, a civil engineer. So this is where, depending on where the house is built, we can help the customers understand those requirements.
In addition to the sustainable model of high resistance walls and high performance windows, I imagine that you are pre-designing. Are you incorporating some of the other energy models like renewable energies and things like that into your homes? Because I imagine that the customer you're seeking is already thinking that I want a home with efficiency. Maybe they want to power their home in an efficient way or a renewable, sustainable way. So are you incorporating that or leveraging your customers into that?
Definitely. So the homes are set up with all of that available. It's like a platform that's ready to be plugged in. So our roofs are solar panel ready, you know, they're sloped at the correct angle. If you site the house correctly, so you have a long southern face, you know, you can put solar panels on them. And what's interesting is to build a home in a very sustainable way, you don't need a lot of technology. You don't really need solar panels. You don't need geothermal. You just need it. It's like buying a really high quality insulated coat, right? You know, if you buy a cheap coat, you're cold, the wind comes in, you get hot, and you just sweat through your coat. It's the same thing with a house. If you buy a really high quality coat, all that moisture is going to wick away from the surface. The wind's not going to come in, and it's going to keep that heat there and let it breathe correctly. So that building envelope is where we put a lot of the time. And then if people want to add electronics, solar panels, geothermal, water reclaiming systems, those are really easy add-on items that you can put into any home. But it's difficult to retrofit a home with a very sophisticated wall system, a very high insulated wall system. Because the walls, it's like that's what holds the house up, right? So if you take the walls down, you don't have a lot left.
Over here. Great job.
Thank you.
The question is, you mentioned that, I guess before you've done high-end residential and commercial, and they're doing this as well. Porch Light. Was the goal to have Porch Light become your main business, or still have the balance between Porch Light and commercial and the high-end residential?
Yeah, great question. So Porch Light, I don't know if any of you are familiar with professional service firms that are capital and workflow is like this huge roller coaster. We always say feast or famine. We're either slammed or we have no work. And so throughout our careers, I've worked at large firms where the same thing happens, right? It's like, oh, the project went on hold and now we're all like either out of a job or doing marketing for a month. So Porch Light, the goal with that was to kind of even out that curve so that we always had like this steady base of work. And that's kind of where it started. And we said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could sell plans online while we sleep, if we had some sort of passive income? That was kind of their early idea. But now what we're finding is that everybody wants to customize, they want to work with us directly, and that interaction is really, really satisfying. So I think we see in the future about 50% of our business being Porch Light, and then 50% still being the custom residential and commercial work.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Over there, Leslie.
Hi,
Hi,
great job.
thank you.
So I just have one, this is going to probably sound like a really weird question, but you talked about how there are additional things that have to happen once I buy this plan. I need other people involved. And so do you all have to know about the coding or whatever in every city? Like if I'm in, Denver and I wanted to buy a plan, and I wanted to work with you all, do you then kind of walk me through, okay, we need this, and this for this city and these codes, and are you required to know all of those things, or do you kind of partner with other people who kind of know that?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. What we do is we call the city, and every city has a planning department and a building department. And it's something that, because we're in the field, we know what to ask for. It's a really easy process. There are standard codes that everybody in the United States follows, and then different cities will adopt different sections of that depending on the specific city. So imagine like Florida or Houston in a hurricane zone is going to have provisions based on hurricane type weather, whereas like areas with a lot of earthquakes are going to have provisions for seismic considerations. So we call the city and just say, hey, what do we need? What engineers do we need? Do you need stamped drawings? How long does it take to get through the permit process? Like in Lawrence, Kansas, I think we can get a permit in under a month, but in LA or Seattle, it's like 6 months at this point to get a permit. So then that helps us understand how much it costs, because you can imagine if we're working with a city for 6 months to get a permit and doing all these revisions and calculations, that's a lot more money because it's more time. Whereas in Lawrence, if we just hand them 6 sheets of drawings and they stamp them and come back, that's not as much time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. And if you you guys had additional questions, please feel free to come up and find Katie afterwards during the networking. Now we're going to have a quick minute to thank all of our sponsors, and if the next presenter would like to get ready on deck, please go ahead and do that. So thank you to Michael K. Bruner for doing all of our videography and photography. Woo! There he is. Thank you again to the Capital Factory Deck for being our venue, High Brew Coffee, and Kurt 2 as well for providing us with breakfast when they can. And then lastly, we actually have Jasmine here from Brazen. She's going to come up and talk for a minute about all the awesome things that they're doing for female founders. So if that's you, please definitely pay attention. And yeah, Jasmine, come on up. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
I won't take a lot of time. We actually, Brazen got a chance to sponsor in April when it actually launched. So my day job, I have several, but it's a CEO of Launch DFW. And so we actually just moved to office here too. So if you guys ever need anything with Launch DFW, we do have a presence here. I was told that we have a huge logo, so I'm really nervous now to go upstairs. I was actually asked to help launch Brazen DFW. So one of the things that I hear all the time in my role at Launch is why Dallas over Austin? Or why can't Dallas be like Austin? And there's several reasons why I'm excited that Dallas is not Austin, even though we're here in Capital Factory. There's a couple of reasons. I can kind of go over those at another time, but women is actually the real compelling reason why. Dallas is actually number one. We might be number two now as far as women starting businesses. And so some of the challenges I see is that there's not enough resources and mentorship for them. It's my belief that Brazen will be the largest organization for women, and that's what it is. It's a membership organization for female CEOs, anyone starting a business, thinking of starting a business. It started in St. Louis. It launched nationally in 7 cities in this past April. So we're a baby organization. It's only 3 months old. In that 3 months' time, though, we've actually grown. Dallas-Fort Worth is now the largest chapter in the country. And I think we're going to continue to go that way. I believe Houston is next. So kind of what do we need at this point? Well, we, of course, are looking to connect with women to join Brazen DFW. If they're looking for a business-first organization, I say business first because we do like social and we like to connect and meet up, but we're really here to scale and grow our companies. But we also need connections to mentors. And our mentorship is a little different. We're really looking for subject matter experts. Some of the things we've heard is that a lot of women are looking for access to capital, access to subject matter experts, which I think is different than sometimes mentorship. So we're looking for you to get involved. Brazen has a ton of exciting programming planned this fall. We've had our 3 months. We've seen kind of what's worked and what's not. We've got a lot of amazing things happening when it comes to VC, connecting our members with investors. So if you like more information, I will be here, like I said, at office here too. But you can go to brazendfw.com. You can schedule office hours with me if you have questions on it. If you're ready to sign up to be a subject matter expert, this is on any topic, come find me. And if you're ready to join, this month is actually free. So brazendfw.com. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, and now we will welcome our second and final presenter to the stage, Taylor with Alyss Analytics. Take it away.
Thank you.
Yes, let's give him a round.
Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Stevenson and I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships with Alyss Analytics. So I'm going to start by kind of telling you my entrepreneurial journey, tell you how I got to standing here today. So coming out of high school, I was the guy who went to college thinking I was going to go to law school. I was a poli-sci major. I went to school for about 3 semesters and I dropped out because I wanted to pursue an entrepreneurial adventure. That failed, so I went back to school again, decided to switch my major. I was a business major for a while, got bored with school again, dropped out, kept repeating this cycle over and over again. So the reason I tell you that is because when you look at me on paper, I'm not the perfect candidate for a job. I don't have a college degree. I only have 5 years of sales experience. But every opportunity that I've been given in life has been based on a personal connection. It's been based on my ability to present and demonstrate soft skills in an interview process that has allowed me to go through and then be offered that job. So I start by introducing our story that way because Alyss Analytics is trying to solve this problem of analyzing soft skills within an HR department. So the hiring process is a very challenging and inefficient process. If you've ever been through it as a candidate or if you've ever hired as an employer, there's a lot of inefficiencies in this process. So there's two metrics that we have on the screen. The first is your cost per hire, $4,129. And the second one is your time to fill, which is 42 days. This is the average cost and average time to fill across industry in 2017 in America. So this is a long process, it's expensive, and most of this doesn't include any onboarding and training costs that are associated with bringing on new employees into an organization. Our contention is that the reason why this hiring process is so hard is because we focus strictly on a resume. So when I look at a resume, what is it that I glean, or what is it that I can garner about you as a person? I figure out where you went to school, right? I figure out what your recent job history looks like and how long you stayed there, what your roles and responsibilities were. But I haven't told you, or I haven't learned anything about you as an individual, right? I know what your skill sets are, but I haven't identified who you are as an individual and what makes you you. What makes you, or your ability to connect with our organization and impact that organization. So we started to think, well, how can we solve this problem? And we thought about video. So the video medium, if you consume your content online, 80% of content is now produced in the video medium. And the reason that is because it allows us to tell stories, right? When I watch a video, I can see the emotion behind it. I can see the action that's being involved. And I can really listen and feel the story that's being demonstrated to me in a way that text really can't do. So this is the move of the future. The mode of the future is going to be video. However, it hasn't been incorporated very well into our HR process. So let's meet Alyss. Alyss, at its core, you give us 60 seconds of candidate video, and we'll quantify how positive, articulate, confident, and energetic an individual is. What this does is it allows an HR department to have an analysis of an entire candidate's pool's soft skills prior to candidate interaction. So Alyss is a machine learning algorithm that's looking at 35 features across 3 main bucket sets. We're looking at all of your microfacial expressions, or your nonverbal communication. We're looking at speech to text, or the content of what you say. And we run what's called a spectral wave analysis of the audio file in order to understand delivery. These are things like tone, pitch, inflection, change of speed all over time. There are 30,000 data points that go into our algorithms in the average 1-minute candidate video. And as I said, we quantify those 4 soft skills: positivity, articulation, confidence, and overall energy. What we do is we provide a partner portal to our HR departments that allows them to assess an entire candidate pool's soft skills prior to that candidate interaction. We allow them to watch the video on the left-hand side of the screen, but the meat of what we provide is the ability for an HR department to understand what's being demonstrated and communicated within that video without having to spend the time of watching each one of those videos. If I've got 10 employees or 10 applicants, 15 applicants, I can probably work through each one of those minute videos, right? 10 to 15 minutes, and figure out who I want to talk to. However, when we start to do this at scale, 50, 100, 150, 250 applicants, it's almost impossible for a human being to watch each one of those candidate videos and understand the sentiment that's being demonstrated within each candidate video. So anytime we talk about AI, everyone kind of gets a little scared, right? Especially when we talk about applying it to HR and something we find so fundamentally human. So I want to talk just a second about one of our core ethos, and that's that AI should do the heavy lifting, but nothing replaces the human connection. So what we do is we provide quantifiable data points to HR executives for them then to action or take insight and action upon within their own organization. Our algorithms are not trained to make the hiring decision for you. We, however, give quantifiable data to those HR departments in order for them to assess that candidate or applicant flow and then make hiring decisions based on what they feel is working for them. I normally put up my team slide here, and this would be a demonstration of what Alyss thinks. And the whole point of this is what can happen when you put together a team based on soft skills. So I interviewed with our CEO, Mike, for 6 weeks, and not once did he ask for a copy of my resume. What he was interested in was who I am as a person and what my impact would be on this organization. So without further ado, I'll open it up to questions and answers.
All right, thanks a lot, Alyss. So, first question, what can the community do for you?
So I've got 3 asks here for this community slide. So the first one is say yes. So anytime you're in an entrepreneurial ecosystem, the opportunities to help one another are infinite. So even if you can't figure out why that person wants to take you to coffee or why they want to pick your brain about marketing material or whatever the business model is, just say yes to that conversation. I'm not saying that if you're an employer, you have to say yes to implementing their product. I'm not saying that if you're an investor, you have to say yes to giving them capital, but have the conversation and I promise you can figure out a way to help one another. Second one is support Midwest innovation. Now, you guys are probably familiar with this, but 80% of VC money in Texas is not spent in Dallas. It actually comes out of Austin, Texas. So being from Wichita, Kansas, we have an even harder time finding venture capital. And what I'm saying is support Midwest innovation. So both of your presenters here are from out of state, but be willing to introduce us, make introductions for us, and help move our business plan along. When it comes to the Midwest, we're competing with the Silicon Valley, we're competing with New York, we're competing with Boston, Massachusetts for innovation. And in order to build that ecosystem and get innovation in the Midwest thriving, it's a community effort across the entirety of the Midwest. The last one is my personal and selfish ask, and that's for warm introductions. So we'll probably talk, someone will ask about target market, I'm assuming, but we are really looking for large, medium to enterprise level organizations. These are organizations that are hard to cold call into. So if you know anyone who's in an HR department in a company with 500 employees or more, and you're willing to make that introduction, I'd be happy to give you a card after the presentation.
All right, great. So I guess we can start warm introduction. I'm Scotty.
Nice to meet you, Scotty.
You too. So if someone else wants to introduce themselves, questions?
Hey Taylor.
Hi. All right.
I'm Michael.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Welcome to Texas.
Thank you.
This is not New York.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know how your second point plays in some other towns, but we're friendly. We can play with you guys. So, nice presentation. You know your stuff. That's important. Your energy's good. Your positivity's good. All those things. Your PACE score is probably pretty good. It's probably your acronym for that, isn't it?
It is.
So, tell me more about traction right now, readiness, companies using it, people gotten hired with it. I'm sorry if I missed exactly where you are in the product life cycle.
Yep.
So I'm big into who's already spending
Yep.
money on this and where's its success to date. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
So we launched the product in April of this year. We currently have 2 commercial pilot partners. One of those is a seasonal wildlife park in Wichita called Tanganyika Wildlife Park. Doesn't really quite fit, but they hire 120 employees every year, and they turn that staff over year. So they're trying to figure out how to garner those soft skills and then demonstrate that in their hiring process year over year. The other one is a program within academia at Wichita State University called the Professional Edge Program. And what that does is it teaches soft skills to business school students. What we provide is trendline analysis for that program to prove that their metrics are working or that their program is teaching those soft skills. So we baseline those individuals at the beginning. We take a video of them 4 times throughout the semester and draw out a baseline metric to prove that the overall program is affecting and helping those demonstrate those soft skills. We also have about 8 contracts out right now that we're waiting on buying decisions for. So the HR buying process is pretty extensive. HR departments are notoriously hard to sell into. They don't have a ton of extra funding, and they've got 1,000 things they're trying to do that are more important than figuring out the next innovation in their process. And so we're looking at a buying cycle of about 4 to 6 months. So we're looking at coming to the close of that first kind of buying cycle from the initial April 1st date. We're hoping to have probably 3 to 4 more contracts, anywhere in the value between $5,000 and $50,000 annual recurring revenue. So, thank you.
Morning. You started actually touching on it, so I had a question about, I heard you mention the business school that you work with, but have you sought out more of the educational sector, like job training programs and maybe some of these trade schools where, you can actually employ some of this communication stuff in that way, and before these people are even in the companies and dealing with HR departments? So that's question number 1. I don't know. Oh yeah. So I happen to live in a very immigrant-dominated community, and they're all very. They don't have a problem with they have a problem with the soft skills. They're very good at the more complicated stuff. They happen to be engineers or developers and programmers, but they're all from immigrant countries or they're minorities in general. And that seems to be a very perfect population, that they just don't have the communication skills to engage in, the business environment in Western countries, but they happen to have all the other tools, to meet some of these jobs that are vacant in the U.S. So, are you approaching some of these kind of communities where they're bringing in some of these developers and some of this offshore talent to try to engage some of your tools?
So on the first question, in terms of academia, we absolutely see a possible path for revenue within academia. So we're working with our local college institutions in Wichita to try to put this kind of as a platform for their students, right? We kind of envision a world in which you could include your Alyss score on your resume. At this point in time, that doesn't mean anything to anyone, right? So if I put my Alyss score, my positivity, my articulation, my confidence, my energy on my resume, and I'm an HR executive and I've never heard of Alyss, I'm like, okay, well, thanks for those random data points, right? But we are looking at trying to build that out. I think as we continue to sign on employers, that'll become more and more of a relevant kind of path for us. In terms of the immigrant communities that you talk about and the lacking of those soft skills, we don't currently have a plan to teach the soft skills, right? So if you come in and you don't do well on your soft skills analysis, we don't really have a model to help you out. However, we are looking at that, right? That's a business to consumer play and something that we could monetize in the future. We need a lot of users before that becomes kind of a viable business model for us, but that's something we're looking at. On your point when it comes to hard skills, you're talking about developers, right? Programmers, people that aren't necessarily forward-facing customer employees. And in those types of roles, your soft skills aren't quite as important or relevant to your success within a position, right? My accountant at the end of the day doesn't have to be the most friendly guy if he can balance my books. However, if I go and have an interaction with a customer support specialist, a sales rep, someone that has that forward-facing customer interaction, I really do expect those soft skills to be there, to be present, and that's kind of how we're going to tackle the market. So we're looking at companies that have a large number of forward-facing customer employees, so retail, hospitality, healthcare, financial insurance services, and customer service or call centers.
I think you just answered my question, but
Yeah.
I was curious on the other user end. So one user is, of course, the HR company and the hiring, but on the employee end, I'm just thinking about somebody who is very qualified, but like for myself, I would love to have your presentation skills are amazing. You would score really high. I think I would score like middle to low, even though my background and everything is like rock star. So for me, if I turn a camera on, I'm not but I am a forward-facing part of our company. So how do you approach the employee end of that?
So, that's kind of something we're trying to figure out, because we've had a couple of clients who have walked away because they're like, look, we just don't believe that our HR, that our applicants are be willing to do a forward-facing video. And for me, I'm on my Snapchat all day long, right? I send 8 to 10 to 12 videos daily, so it doesn't affect me at all. But however, I had a good friend who, same thing, a very polished sales rep in the customer service world, does great with people. I watched him take that video, and he bombed. It was horrible, right? And so we're trying to figure out the best way to kind of encourage those employees, right? So we do a lot of messaging with our employers about why we're asking them to take this video. So what that looks like right now is an employer says, hey, thanks for sending in your resume. We really appreciate knowing what you're capable of and understanding your skill sets, but it's also very important for us to understand who we are or who you are, right? And so we're trying to message this in a way where it feels empowering to a candidate instead of not empowering, right? Instead of another gate in the process where you feel like, oh, I just can't do this. We really were trying to encourage candidates to tell their story. Make yourself unique. Give yourself an opportunity to demonstrate something that can't be demonstrated on your resume. So, like I said, the long-term play, there's probably a play here for teaching soft skills. There was a Forbes study that came out in 2016 that they interviewed 900 Wall Street executives 92% of them said soft skills were more important or as important as hard skills. They also said that 86% of them said that they couldn't find candidates with the right soft skills. So I think you're seeing a shift in kind of the education in the market, where soft skills are really becoming a key part of the hiring process. That's kind of a shift that's going to take place over the long haul. We did a really good job in the 90s and early 2000s of understanding what hard skills were needed in order to go through the academic process and get out to market. But we haven't done a very good job of teaching some of those soft skills. And so there's a shift in paradigm, and hopefully Alyss can play a significant role in helping to teach those soft skills.
All right, we have time for a few more questions.
Hi.
Hi.
You said, you mentioned the East Coast, the West Coast, and I didn't understand what that is, but my question to you is, what is your competition, and what is your overall, what do you think is going to happen with HR departments around the globe, because they really do need to be changing what they're doing? So I wanted to know if you do have other competition and how that's going.
So we have one major competitor. It's a company called HireVue. They originally started as a video interview solution in 2004. They've raised $95 million to date and have about 700 enterprise-level clients. They started touting an AI functionality, machine learning functionality, about 3 weeks before we hit the market. That's very similar. What our competitive advantage over HireVue is one, price point. They're a very expensive solution. The second is that we provide quantifiable data. What HireVue's program is, or platform is it provides you a heat map. So green, do hire; yellow, maybe hire; red, don't hire. And once again, it goes back to our core ethos. We don't believe that AI should be making that hiring decision for the HR executive. We believe that AI should be doing the heavy lifting and then give them the quantifiable data for them to make their own decisions. Because the hiring process is still very much a human-to-human connection, and we don't want to take that away. In terms of HR departments, the overall HR tech market right now is very interesting. So our analysis is that we're actually 7 years out from full market adaptation of a technology like ours, which we define as 40% of the Fortune 500 making a buying decision on a solution like ours within that calendar year. So only 3 to 5% of our target market is actually making a buying decision on this technology. And what I'm seeing in the HR tech market is that there's your big HCMs, right? Your ADPs, your Salesforce, your very large org, and then there's a bunch of startups that are trying to figure it out, right? The overall HR tech market right now, I think buyers are confused about what's available, and no one's really gotten the market traction or proven traction to affect the KPIs that we all say we can affect. So from a buyer's perspective, a lot of people are taking kind of a hands-off approach, saying, well, that's really cool technology. We're going to let the market suss out what the next big player is going to be, and then all of a sudden it'll ramp up. So for us, what that means is that we're in a race, right? We've got to garner as much market traction as we can over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, which will allow us to put ourselves in a position to go compete for the larger overall market that's going to be in effect in the next 4 to 7 years.
There's going to be an HR association, correct?
Do what?
There's going to be an HR association?
Yeah.
I would go talk to those people at their conventions.
Yep, so there's SHRM, which is a Society of Human Resource Management Professionals, which has chapters all across the world. There's also another organization that's been pretty popular called Disrupt HR. It talks about the future of HR, how we change our mindsets and modalities along with the technology that's coming into place. There's conferences that we're going to one in Vegas in September, specifically around HR technology and the way it invents. HR is applying technology to the HR department. It's a brand new market. It's something that we've done one way for years and years, right? You send in your resume. If I like your resume, I give you a phone call, right? And that's the way we've done it since the 1970s. It used to be that you hired on personality and you trained the skills, and then that reversed over the 70s and 80s and 90s. You hired on skills, and then you figured out the personality aspect later. I think you're going to reverse that in the market again, but that paradigm shift is going to take some time.
All right, thanks for your questions, everyone. If you want, we're gonna have everyone over here. You can keep talking to Taylor some more, ask some more questions. But thank you for coming.
Yeah, let's give Taylor a round of applause.
Thank you.